Hello again. Welcome to another lesson in Algebra 1. Today we are covering section 5.2, use equations in slope-intercept form. Okay. Warm up. Find the slope of a line that passes through each 2 points. So this is some review, just working on how to find the slope again. So remember our slope is, we have a formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, but you're not required to write the formula in. But this is a xy pair, this is a xy pair, this is 0.1 and 0.2. So in this case, we would do 3 minus negative 2 and 1 minus 0. 3 minus negative 2 is 5, and 1 minus 0 is 1, so 5 over 1 is just 5. Okay, so you're welcome to skip this part right here and go right to there. And remember, it doesn't matter which one you pick as 0.1 or 0.2. So for this one, we'll do it opposite way. So this could be 0.2 and this could be 0.1. So my slope could be found by doing 3 minus 5 over 2 minus negative 2. This is negative 2 over 4, which is negative 1/2. You will get the same numbers regardless of which point you pick as 0.2. Okay. All right, number 3. Bill borrowed $75 from his parents. He is paying it back $5 per week. Find the slope and the y-intercept in the equation below that would model this situation. So he borrowed $75 from his parents. So there's 2 ways to write this. We can say he owes them currently $75 and he is paying them back $5 every week. Okay, so the plus 5 is how much he's giving them compared to his money that he owes, which is negative 75. Or we could write it the other way. He currently owes them positive $75 and he's subtracting 5 off every week. So whichever way you want to do it, but one of them is going to get the negative and one will get the positive. All right. Graph each line using the slope and y-intercept. Okay, so our slope in the first part of number 4 is negative 3 over 1. Please don't put an x with that. Remember, the slope is a value that stands for the steepness of the line. It doesn't have a variable in it. Okay, so our y-intercept is 2. So we put a point at 2, and then the steepness of the line is negative 3 down and 1 over. Okay, and we could also go 3 up and 1 to the left. Arrows on the end and write the equation on the line. Y equals negative 3x plus 2. All right, second one. The slope is 3/5. The y-intercept is negative 2. So we put a point at negative 2. We go up 3 and right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or we could go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and then left 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so we get y equals 3/5 x minus 2. Okay, on our second page, we have a little graphic organizer to help us figure out how to find the equation of a line with the given slope and a point that is not the y-intercept. So we know the slope, but we don't know the y-intercept, and we want to figure out from just information, one point and a slope, how to get the line. Okay, so here's an example of the problem. Find an equation of a line with a slope of 3 that goes to the point 2,7. Okay, so step 1, substitute the slope into the slope-intercept form of a line to write the equation with only the b missing. So a slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, and then in place of m, I put a 3. Okay, so now I have only the b part. The y and x are our normal input-output variables, and we don't know the y-intercept. All right, so replace the x and y in the equation with the x and y coordinates of the one point on the line that we know. They make the equation true, so you can replace them. So our one point we knew was 2, 7. That was an xy ordered pair that make this equation true. So I replaced y with 7, and I replaced x with 2. Okay, now I have an equation that has only b in it. It's the only variable. So let's solve for that b. All right, so 3 times 2 makes 6. And then we subtract 6 to both sides, and we find out that b is 1. So now I know my y-intercept is 1. Okay, and then rewrite the equation with both the slope and the y-intercept. So we are taking our mx plus b. We replace m with 3 and b with 1. And then we get our answer. So y equals 3x plus 1 is a line that has a slope of 3 and goes through the point 2, 7. Okay. All right, so let's try a couple. Write an equation of a line that has the given information. It should go through the points 4, 5, and 8, 2. Okay. So first off, let's calculate that slope. So we need to know the slope part. So we're going to do 2 minus 5 over 8 minus 4. That gives us negative 3/4. Okay. So I know part of my answer now. I know the slope. Okay, so I'm going to do our steps that we had above, which was start with our slope intercept formula and replace the slope with negative 3/4. And then I also know an ordered pair. I actually know two ordered pairs, so I'm going to use this one. This is my xy ordered pair. That makes this statement or this equation true. So I'll replace y with 2. I'm going to replace x with 8. And that leaves me only the b variable missing. So I'll go ahead and multiply out the negative 3/4 and 8 here. So that's negative 6 plus b. And then I'll add 6 to both sides to get 8. So now I know my y-intercept. So these are the two pieces of information we need to write our equation. Okay, so I write my final answer, y equals the slope, which is negative 3/4 x, plus the y-intercept. And the intercept in this case is positive, so we just say plus 8. Okay, there's our final answer. Okay, number 5, we want it to go through the point 1, negative 6, and have a slope of 5. So this one's a little bit easier. I start with y equals mx plus b, just as before. I'm going to replace m with 5, because this says the slope is 5. Okay, so y equals 5x plus b. Okay, and then I know a point. This is an xy ordered pair that's on the line. So I can replace y with negative 6. I can replace x with 1. And then I can solve for the missing variable, which is b. Okay, so 5 times 1 gives me 5. Negative 6 equals 5 plus b. And then I subtract 5 to both sides to get negative 11 as b. Okay, so my final answer here is going to be y equals the slope, which is 5 times x, and then plus the y-intercept, but our y-intercept is negative this time, so we'll just put negative 11 there. Okay, so on page 3, we're looking at functions here. So it's the same stuff, we're just, instead of doing y and x, we're doing x as the input, and g is our output. Okay, so this says, the first one, g of 0 is 8. So it says the function g at input 0 has an output 8. So input 0 has an output 8. And then it says the function g at input 2 has output 16. So these are our two ordered pairs. All right, so we need to find the slope and the y-intercept. So we'll start with the slope here. The slope is 16 minus 8 over 2 minus 0. This gives me 8 over 2 for 4. And then we could write our function, g of x equals mx plus b. Okay, because it's still a linear function. So then we plug in our slope of 4. And then we have to find the y-intercept. Okay, now we put a b here. And we could pick one of the ordered pairs. So let's pick 16 and 2. So our output g is 16 when our input is 2. And then we solve this, so we get 16 equals 8 plus b. So b is 8. So our final answer is g of x equals 4x plus 8. Now there was a shorter way to get that 8. You should notice here, this point is on our g-axis because the x input is 0. So this is our b, our g-intercept anyways. So this extra part we did here, where we plugged in an x and a g, we didn't actually have to do. Okay, we could have got it by just looking at the two ordered pairs and realizing that one of them was the g-intercept right away. All right? Number 7, the second one on this page, we have inputs x makes output f. And our first one says an input of 8 makes an output of -2. And our next one says an input of 5 makes an output of -3.5. So this time we're not given the f-intercept, so we have to do all the work. So let's just practice it again all the way through. So first off, slope. This is -3.5 minus -2 over top of 5 minus 8. So this is -3.5 plus 2, which makes -1.5. And 5 minus 8 is -3. And if you put those together, 1.5 over 3 is really just the same as 1/2, and the two negatives cancel out. So now I know my slope. I got to get the y-intercept. All right, so in place of this g of x equals mx plus b, I'm going to plug in some things. I know the slope is 1/2, so I'll put 1/2 here. I'm going to pick one of these ordered pairs, so I'll go with the first one because it has all whole numbers. So the output -2 happens when the input is 8, and now I can solve for b. So I get -2 equals 4 plus b, and then I'll subtract 4 to both sides to get b being -6. So now we're ready for our final answer. So we can construct our final answer using the slope and the f-intercept in this case. So it's going to be f of x equals our slope of 1/2 times x minus 6. That's our f-intercept was -6. Okay. All right, number 8, write the equation of the lines graph below. So part A should be a bit easier. We already done this one before. We've even had a Khan Academy on it. So there's our y-intercept. It's 3. We go down 1 and over 3. So our slope is going to be -1/3. And then we can write our equation. Y equals -1/3 x plus 3. Okay. Part B is a bit trickier because we're not given the y-intercept directly. So we do the same work that we've done on the previous problems. So we're going to say y equals mx plus b. And let's find the m. So the slope here is 5 up and 1 over. So that's 5. All right, so in place of m, I'm going to put a 5 here. We still have plus b, but we need to get a y and x pair. So we can pick either one of these ordered pairs. I'm going to go with this one because I like positive numbers better. So this is 4 over and 3 up. So remember, ordered pairs always come x, y. So we put 3 for y, we put 4 for x. Okay, and then we solve for b. So 3 equals 20 plus b, and b is equal to -17. So now I write my final answer. Y equals 5x minus 17. Now with a little bit of logic, and you could probably have gotten that by just backing up the slope 3 more times, but it's easier to go ahead and solve it algebraically so people can see what you're doing. Okay. Number 9, campers. A camp charges a registration fee and a daily amount. So the registration fee is going to be like our y-intercept. It's a one-time fee. It's our starting amount. And the daily amount they charge is going to be like our slope. Okay. So if the total bill for one camper was $338 for 12 days, so our input 12 makes an output of $338. And the total bill for another camper was $506 for 19 days. So input of 19 days makes a bill of $506. We want to find out what will the bill for a camper who enrolls for 30 days be. So what we really want to do is make an equation for this and then plug into our equation. So what I would like to know is, what is the total bill based on the number of days we attended the camp? And to do that, I need to find the slope. So I'll come back over here and do my slope. That's 506 over 338. Oh, I'm sorry, 506 minus 338 over top of 19 minus 12. So 506 minus 338, I'm going to get my calculator here, is 168. 19 minus 12 is 7. So then I divide it by 7 and I get 24. So the daily amount is 24. So there's my slope. And then we don't know how many days, but we need to find this y-intercept, or in this case, the t-intercept. Okay, so to get that, I pick one of my points, whichever one I want. So I'll go with the first one. It's got smaller numbers. The total of 338 equals 24 times the number of days, d, which was 12 in our case, plus b. Okay, so I do 24 times 12. This gives me 288. So 338 equals 288 plus b. And then I do 338 minus 288. This gives me 50. So our registration fee was 50. So here's our final equation. The total amount we pay based on the number of input days is equal to 24 times the number of days plus the $50 registration fee. How much will the camper who enrolls for 30 days have to pay? So we say, all right, well, let's say they did 30 days. So that's 24 times 30 plus 50. And let's see what they paid. So 24 times 30 plus 50 will give me 770. So they paid, and I'll write it over here on the side, the camper will pay $770. Okay. All right, this concludes our notes for today. No follow-up.